Welcome to the Canadian Data Steward. Today, we're diving deep into a word that you've probably been hearing a lot more lately, metadata. You know, it's kind of shifted from this nice-to-have thing to a full-on requirement for a lot of us. So let's break down what that actually means for you and your research.
Okay, so let's just cut right to the chase. Quick question for you. Are you funded by one of Canada's Tri-Agencies? We're talking CIHR, NSERC, or SSHRC. If you're nodding your head right now, then yeah, you are in exactly the right place.
Because if that's you, then you've got these new data deposit requirements to deal with. And I get it, it can feel like just one more thing to add to an already overflowing plate. But our goal here today is to make this whole thing feel as simple and as painless as possible. I promise.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the why, the new mandate itself. Then we'll get into what metadata actually is, in plain English. From there, it's all practical stuff. Why it matters, what tools you should be using, and some of the classic mistakes to avoid. And we'll wrap it all up with a simple action plan you can start using like tomorrow.
All right, first up, the new mandate. Let's take a quick peek at the policy that is making this whole conversation so critical for Canadian researchers right now.
So as you can see, this whole idea of data sharing, it's not exactly new. The requirements have been evolving for, over 30 years. But the real moment that changed everything for us is right here in 2021. The Tri-Agency RDM policy, that was the game changer. It made it official for all funded researchers. You've got to deposit the data, the metadata, and the code that support your publications. That policy uses the word metadata over and over again. So let's make sure we're all on the same page. What is this stuff really? Time to cut through the jargon.
So here's the formal definition. At its core, metadata is the info that makes your data, and this is the most important part, independently understandable. Here's the ultimate test, right? Could another researcher, or maybe even your future self, look at this data set 5 years from now and have any clue what's going on without you there to explain it? If the answer is yes, that's good metadata.
I absolutely love this analogy because it just clicks. You've got a jar with something in it. Without a label, it's just a mystery. Is it valuable? Is it pond water? Who knows? That little label, that's your metadata. It provides all the context, all the value. Your data is exactly the same.
So to make it a little more concrete, metadata usually falls into 4 main buckets. You've got descriptive, which is all about helping people find your work, the title, the keywords. Then there's administrative, which is the legal stuff. Who paid for it? What's the license? Structural explains how all the pieces of your data fit together, like how this spreadsheet connects to that image file. And finally, and this one's huge, provenance. That's the origin story, the methods, the software. This is the key to reproducibility.
Okay, so why are we talking about this? Why does it matter so much? This isn't just about checking a box for a funder. This is where we flip the script and see how good metadata goes from being an obligation to a massive opportunity for your research. This is the payoff.
The whole reason we're doing this, the big picture goal, is to make your research data fair. And that's not just a word, it's an acronym. And it's the internationally recognized gold standard for making sure data is high quality and actually useful to other people.
Now here's the main takeaway. Metadata isn't some separate thing from FAIR. It's the engine that makes FAIR happen. It makes your data findable because it includes things like a permanent DOI and good keywords. It makes it accessible by explaining how to get the data. It ensures it's interoperable by using standard formats so it can play nicely with other data sets. And finally, it makes it reusable by providing a clear license and all those juicy details about your methods. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. Section 4 is all about the standards and repositories you're actually going to be using. This is your Canadian toolkit.
Now look, you don't need to memorize this whole list, but it helps to know the key players. Think of DataCite as the engine that creates that super important permanent DOI for your dataset. Dublin Core is kind of like the universal language that helps different systems talk to each other. And then you've got the specialized stuff, like DDI for social science, or others for fields like geography or ecology.
So where does all this data and metadata actually live? Well, in Canada, you've got some great national options. For most general datasets, Borealis is a fantastic choice. If you're dealing with absolutely massive datasets, the Federated Research Data Repository, or FRDR, is your go-to. If you're in the social sciences, ODESI is built just for you. And Lunaris is a little different. It's not for depositing data. It's the super-powered search engine that lets people find your work across all of these other platforms. Okay, this section might be the most important one. Let's talk about the common mistakes people make, and, more importantly, how you can sidestep those traps and do this right from day one.
Ah, yes, the 7 deadly sins of metadata. And the #1 mistake by a country mile is waiting until the project is over to even think about this stuff. But honestly, the others are just as bad. A vague title like Dataset 1, that makes your data invisible. Forgetting a license, that makes it unusable. Every one of these little errors directly chips away at the FAIR principles and just tanks the potential impact of your hard work.
But here's the good news. Avoiding those mistakes is actually pretty straightforward. Here is your checklist for what I call minimum viable metadata. This is your starting point. If you can just get these 6 things right, a specific title, your name linked to your ORCID ID, a solid description, some good keywords, a clear license, and that final DOI from the repository, you are already 90% of the way there. Seriously.
And that brings us to our final section, your metadata action plan. We've covered a lot, so let's boil it all down to the one single thing you should do next.
If you take only one single thing away from our chat today, please let it be this. Create your metadata while you are creating your data. Not after the fact, not when you're writing the paper 3 years later. Do it in the moment. Documenting what you're doing while you're doing it is the single most powerful habit you can build for good data management. It changes everything.
So when it comes to research data management, or RDM, what do you think is the single most powerful tool you have at your disposal? It's not a piece of software, it's not a platform, it's a person, your university's RDM librarian. These folks are experts. Their entire job is to help researchers like you navigate this exact landscape. I am not kidding. A 30-minute meeting with them at the start of a project will save you countless hours of stress and frustration down the line. So we'll leave you with this final thought. Don't feel like you have to solve everything all at once. That's overwhelming. Instead, just ask yourself this one simple question. What is one small thing you can document about your data today? Start there. It's that easy.